Hi, episode Heresy has currently finished. We are at the end of the episode. We're going into the next big expansion. And with that in mind, I wanted to take a look back at episode Heresy and just see what, in my opinion, the episode did right, what it did wrong, where it could have improved. As there are lessons here that are worth learning going into the future, and there are things that are worth looking at. Episode Heresy wasn't half bad either, so let's get right into it. Episode Heresy kicks itself off with a boom with the fact that Eris Morn, a beloved character, dies within the first cutscene of the entire season. Within the first mission you are in, Eris Morn is fucking dead. It has immediately set the stakes. Well, that is if Bungie had the idea of what stakes mean. You see, Bungie decided that instead of allowing her to actually just be dead, no, that would be too scary for the toddlers who are playing this game. No, we have to bring her back immediately. So, in the very next scene, I shit you not, 5 minutes later, you see a cutscene of her laughing in a throne room. Kind of confirming that, yeah, this was all part of her plan. She's just in a throne room now, what you gotta do about it? Because you see, one of the relics from the Traveler, if you remember all the way back when, landed here on the Dreadnought. And it has the power to revive Oryx, because we aren't done entirely with Oryx either. But you will find a way to shove him down your throat even if you don't like it. Now, I'm very negative here, and that's because I think one of the big problems Destiny has is the inability to allow a character to, die for an extended period of time. Cave was done really well, because we didn't know Cave was gonna be brought back in the final shape, where he was also taken away again. And that was like a respectful arc for Cave. But for Eris Morn kind of dies and then immediately is back. And it's a bit of a shame, because the cutscene itself was really fucking good where she died. The story beat goes pretty hard, and it sets the tone for a episode that is set out to be pretty good. And it is done very well, in my opinion. Heresy has not been awful, as we have things such as the Nether, and then we have Court of Blades, which I don't like as much, but there's also things such as the Borodiah Mission and Sundry Doctrine. A bunch of actually really fairly good pieces of content came out this episode. And it's unfortunate to see that the story, in my opinion, almost immediately hit a bit of a bump. And that is not to mention that there is the voice actor strike, where apparently this sort of impacted Heresy, as half of the lines aren't voiced anymore, which is, well, it was a bit rough at the beginning, especially if you're like me and you didn't play with subtitles for a little bit there. That's rough, as they wouldn't automatically enable them. They just kind of, you gotta have to go in there and enable them yourself, at least like that, and then you get your footage from it where you could read the subtitles of what the fuck was going on. Otherwise, it was just awkward silence, which I imagine for some folks made it a really weird experience to play through. When it comes to episode Heresy, the story itself wasn't honestly all that bad, even though I disliked the fact that we didn't just let Eris die and had a meaningful cutscene within the episode. Unfortunately, we didn't do that. We did go the route of trying to revive Oryx and all that, but it was all alright. It wasn't anything that was out of my mind, blowing me away special or anything, but it was much better than the previous episode that I can't even remember what was revolving around. That's a lie, it was Revenant, and it was not that great. But at least this episode sort of had an interesting enough story to drag it through. However, we still haven't really found out how it ties into the next big expansion, as I think Bungie probably didn't know that themselves at that point. And unfortunately, that is kind of a lot of the sort of theming of these episodes. None of them have really been able to sort of connect to the overarching plot of Destiny and what's gonna happen next. They haven't set up the next sort of play in Destiny, which is very unfortunate when that was one of the big pictures of these episodes. Now, does that mean Heresy was bad? Not at all. The Nether is a roguelike experience again, where they disabled health regen and they made you much tankier as a sort of resort instead, so you were much tankier, but you always had attrition on you. You'd never heal. You had to pick up those small light balls. It was a interesting experience in my opinion, and I actually kinda enjoyed the Nether a lot. The Nether revolves around you going through 3 parts of the ship, exploring them, finding loot, upgrades, and everything else in between, completing some objectives, then killing a boss, and then getting some more loot, and then you do that until you finish the run. Unfortunately, the singular, in my opinion, biggest issue with the Nether is the loot, as there is your normal variant, then you have your masterwork variant, which is a shiny roll that has a unique shade on it, and then you have your adept roll, and then you have your adept shiny. Now, in and of itself, this doesn't sound bad at all. when you read that on paper, it sounds normal. But the issue here is that playing on expert doesn't guarantee you adepts, meaning that you are effectively rolling 3 random weapons to just sort of hope that you get the adept shiny, which you don't always do. And that in and of itself became a bit of an issue, as it became incredibly unrewarding to run through the nether, do a full fucking expert run to get a big old dick in your ass. Like, it was pretty fucking ass. Like, this wasn't fun. This was really not fun. It was really frustrating. Because while yes, you can attune to certain weapons, nothing guaranteed you a drop of the weapon that you want. So you couldn't really guarantee yourself to get a nade launch or anything like that. And attune is also a big word. You could use the sort of table that they have to slap some little rune in there, and then you could get a drop of that gun. But you couldn't really like sort of guarantee yourself getting a shiny or anything like that, or an adept variant of it, as they were both RNG even within the higher expert difficulties. Now, that does not mean I think the nether is bad. I think the nether is actually one of the best episodic activities we have had. I think it's really fun, and I think it has a place in the game. And I really genuinely hope Bungie revisits these ideas and evolves upon it and does something new with it, because the idea of going through different rooms, getting upgrades and getting progressively stronger while having to prioritize your HP and finding random chests and sort of all of that good stuff as you go, it's really fun. That was addictive as shit. I loved that. My way to fix the entire loop problem I have with these activities, just like I said back in the original Onslaught, is guarantee a shiny drop of whatever weapon you were attuned to at the time, or in this case, whatever weapon you have in your rune tablet thing. Whatever weapon you have in there, guarantee a shiny drop of that by the end. Thereby, you spend an hour to get a singular drop of a weapon that you want. That, in my opinion, is a completely fair trade-off. Not that that isn't a little bit unrewarding still, but at least at that point you are guaranteed something. I have gone through multiple full expert runs where I didn't get jack shit. I have never seen an adept shiny despite playing this episode for more than 200 hours. Not a single fucking time. And that is sort of a little bit frustrating. And that's not sort of an issue in and of itself. I'm okay with RNG fucking me over. I just wanted to at least feel worth it to complete the entire fucking nether when you're running into it. Because the way, in my opinion, at least the fastest way I found to farm this, was load in, do the very first room on expert, then load out again. Because at that point the enemies, they aren't hard yet, because they increase difficulty as you go through. So right now that they're easiest when you load in the very first room, you kill all the enemies, kill the boss, grab your loot, fuck off again, and then you rinse repeat until you actually get what you want. Unfortunately, this also means that there is really no incentive to go through an entire run, as you can do this so fast. At least I've been able to in my runs, that it takes me less time to do that than to go through the rest of the run. And that is a bit unfortunate, as I think going through an entire nether run can be quite fun, but it isn't really incentivized at any point, as Bungie, while increasing the loot drops, doesn't really guarantee you get anything that you want. And that is a little bit of an issue, or at least a chance of getting something that you want, you know. Because at the end of the day, I'm okay with them not having craftable guns in this episode. It's something that I've argued for a while that I dislike in Destiny. The way craftables currently work, where you get like 5 red borders, in my opinion, this incentivizes farming loot. Now, I do love this system where you have to actually grind the weapons. I think the tier 5 weapon idea is cool as shit. I love the idea of being incentivized to grind a little bit of a better version of a gun that I have, because it's slightly prettier. Now, will that be something that I do every time? Probably not. Will that be something that I do sometimes? Absolutely. And again, I like that system. I just think that if you're playing on the hardest difficulty possible, and you do an entire run of that, you don't quit out, you don't have anything like that, then you should be guaranteed a chance of getting the role that you like. Because that is sort of the point here. You're there to get the loot. You're not there to do a whole lot of other stuff, right? Like, you want your loot, you want your items. And Court of Blades suffers much from the same problem. Now, I will fully admit I play way less Court of Blades, as it felt much more like traditional Destiny. And that is the one thing that I just did not want, as Court of Blades is a boss rush mode. In and of itself, I like the idea of boss rush in Destiny. What I do not like is the implementation of it, where it became a glorified go into one room, do a few mechanics, kill the boss, onto the next room, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It doesn't help that my favorite guns had a higher drop chance in the nether as far as I know. So the weapons that I farmed for, like adamantite, they were really more of a nether thing, so I never really wanted to go in there anyway. But Court of Blades just really wasn't that fun to me, and that might just be a me thing. I am sure that there are people out there who will 100% stand by Court of Blades, as it by no means is a bad activity. It is just not as good in my opinion as Nether, whereas Nether slaps really fucking hard. As for the Borrowed Dive mission, it is your standard exotic mission. A bunch of exploration, it's honestly quite great. I love the puzzle center, I love the exotic itself. Borrowed Dive, while originally being a little bit on the weaker side, has really won me over with everything that I've seen from it. I also just love the fact that we have brought weird back to Destiny. That is something that I've been wanting for a while. This idea of having wild out there aesthetics is really cool to me. And Borrowed Dive really is that. It's literally a fucking circle with a handle. It's fucking cool. I love that thing. And on top of that, I can say the same thing about mostly every other piece of loot this episode. A lot of it is really kind of unique looking. It looks interesting. It has visual flair. It reminds me a little bit of the Crota gear. And I love that aesthetic. I love that idea that it's a little bit more hyphy and it has a little bit of magic here and there. And it looks all cool and shit. I really like how these weapons look, because they don't really make a whole lot of sense or anything like that. They are very much the... Where does that even come from? That is an actual alien weapon. More of that, please. I really like that. Now, if there's one thing that is true about Destiny, is that I fucking love this game. And I want to make that clear. When I talk shit about Destiny, it's not coming from a place of I want this game to die. I have spent 9,000 hours playing this game, and I intend to spend another 9,000 hours playing Destiny, because I think Destiny has such a unique world. It has so many unique small pieces that sort of bring it together. It's also why I'm so passionate about things like Stop Killing Games. As while Destiny 2 might not be covered as it is a retroactive thing, it is something that could potentially end up being killed, and I would hate to see that. Because Destiny, for all its flaws, also has one of the most interesting sci-fi universes out there. Unfortunately, that interest is sort of waning right now, and that intensity of having a creatively interesting and fulfilling universe is also waning, as a debate has kicked up about specifically crossovers. Now, Destiny has a bunch of crossovers. We've had anything from Assassin's Creed to Star Wars. Star Wars being the thing that kicked this conversation off, as people do not like it when they run around their Destiny universe, the Destiny game, and they see a Stormtrooper rolling up or General Grievous. And I fucking agree. What in the fuck? This is visual clutter. It does not need to be a part of Destiny. If I want a Star Wars, I could go and play a Star Wars game, or do something Star Wars related. Now, what makes a good crossover is the big question then. Because if the Star Wars one isn't, then what is? And the answer is very simple, in my opinion anyway. It is the fact that a good crossover is something that gets molded to fit into the universe that is being crossed with. In this case, Star Wars needed to be Destiny-fied, and it wasn't. It was just a one-to-one budget Chinese Temu cut of Star Wars, but in Destiny. And it's a bit of a shame, because the idea of having some Star Wars stuff is really cool. A matter of fact, I'll have you know, we already have Star Wars inspired stuff in Destiny. And you know where we have it? It's called Stormcaller. It is the big sap fucking super. And it is pretty cool. I love that fucking thing. And the reality is you can do Star Wars inspired things without copying Star Wars. It's the same thing if it had been Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed, the armor set that we have in Destiny, is pretty alright. It is a good armor set. You could take that out and remove all context from it, and I would not be able to guess that it was supposed to be Assassin's Creed. But the fact that it is inspired by it is something that I can tell, because I've been told that it is heavily inspired from it. That I like. Why do I like it? Because it is Destiny-fied. It is taken into the Destiny universe, made to fit into the Destiny universe, instead of just being Ezio walking around the tower. It's not something that would fit if he just did that, but he doesn't. What we did was take some of the armor from the game, and then we Destiny-fied it. Then we made it a little bit more sci-fi and spiced it up. And that was great. I loved it. And we could have done the same thing with Star Wars, but we didn't. What we got instead with Star Wars was a 1-to-1 clone super fucking Star Wars guy. I'm not a big Star Wars. That's a lie. I do like Star Wars quite a bit, but I'm not a big fan of the newer Star Wars stuff. But in general, I don't really want to see that. I don't like that sort of crossover. I think crossovers are great, and I think the fact that we can share fanbase is incredibly cool. But I really wish that, out of respect from both Star Wars and Destiny, that we could keep them separated for a little bit, you know? Separate the two in a way where if Destiny goes over to Star Wars, we get something in Battlefront 2, then like make the armor or character or whatever from Destiny, make them fit into Star Wars. Don't just copy fucking Destiny. Just like Destiny shouldn't be fucking copying Star Wars. It's obvious. It doesn't fit in here. It's like back in the day when I was a wee lad, I played an MMORPG called Terra. In Terra, it's a high fantasy world. Oh, what is that over there in the corner? It's the Elven Tower. Oh, that is the dragon flying around, right? Well, not exactly, but anyway, when I was exploring the world, I saw somebody coming on their mount. Their mount being a giant fuck-off Christmas present. I'm gonna be honest, when I see somebody be riding on that Christmas present, it instantly takes me out of the experience that I was having. And it is kind of the same thing in Destiny. I am in the sci-fi universe, I can immerse myself within Destiny, and I like doing that. What I don't like is when General Grievous comes in or the Star Wars ship comes in with its annoying sound effect. That is annoying to me. Why? Because it takes me out of the Destiny universe, the universe that I am trying to be in. Anyway, I wanted to talk about this a bit because it's something that's been annoying me for quite a bit, and it's something that I think happens because every game sort of wants to be a multiverse of characters. They want to be that brand-friendly game that can have everything in it. And I don't necessarily think we need that with Destiny. That is not a good standpoint. Does that mean I dislike Renegades? No. I think Renegades could be really interesting. I just want a desert planet again, man. They stole Mars away from us, and I have yet to set a foot on some other red-looking planet. Give me something like that. Give me Arrakis from Dune. Like, I would love to see a desert planet again, man. And I'm looking forward to it, but I'm skeptical. I am skeptically optimistic about going into the Renegade experience, just like I am skeptically optimistic about going into Age of Fate. But that has been enough for this time. I do plan on releasing another 2 videos, as I think the entire live service model of Destiny is interesting, and as such I wanna sort of look at a deeper level on the episodes and where they sort of differentiated themselves from seasons and where they didn't. And then I want to have a look at the future of the game, specifically now that Age of Fate is right around the corner. It is going to be my once a year checkup on the feel of the game, and we'll see how it goes from there. Now, if you like what you saw here in today's video, you like me and what we're talking about here, you can do the YouTube sub to support the channel. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day ahead of you, and I'll see you all later.